Why waking up from narcissistic abuse feels like the Matrix. What if I told you that the life you've been living is an illusion? That the person you fell in love with built an entire world around you? A carefully constructed reality designed not to make you happy, but to keep you asleep and under their control. For anyone who has woken up from the fog of narcissistic abuse, this isn't just the plot of a movie, it's their life. Leaving a narcissist isn't just a breakup, it's a shattering of your entire reality. It's like taking the red pill and seeing the Matrix for the very first time. You aren't just losing a partner, you're losing the world you thought you knew, the future you poured your soul into, and in many ways, the person you thought you were. It's a painful, disorienting shock to the system when the fantasy shatters and the harsh, cold reality hits. This is the psychological crash that happens when you finally wake up. Section 1. The Dream World and the Red Pill. Before everything fell apart, there was the dream. Remember the beginning? The love bombing phase. It felt like you'd finally found your soulmate, the one person who truly saw you, understood you, and completed you. This was the narcissist's masterpiece, a simulated reality so perfect, so intoxicating, you couldn't imagine it was anything but real. They mirrored your hopes, reflected your dreams, and created a shared fantasy that felt more real than reality itself. Inside this world they built, everything was designed to keep you hooked. Bit by bit, your sense of self was chipped away. A narcissist's manipulation is often a subtle form of emotional abuse. It's a slow drip of gaslighting, blame shifting, and criticism that makes you question your own sanity. You start to believe you're the problem. You're too sensitive. You're remembering things wrong. You're the one who needs to try harder. This is the Matrix at work, a system designed to turn your own mind against you, keeping you plugged in. Then something happens. A final betrayal, a moment of undeniable clarity, or maybe just the slow, creeping realization that the pain is finally outweighing the performance. This is your red pill moment. It might not feel like a choice, but it's the moment you stop swallowing the blue pill of denial. And what comes next isn't immediate freedom. It's the beginning of the fall. Section 2. Waking up in the pod. The psychological crash. This is the part nobody prepares you for. Waking up from narcissistic abuse isn't a gentle sunrise. It feels like being violently unplugged and thrown into a cold, dark reality. It's a series of psychological shocks that feel almost identical to Neo's awakening in the Matrix. First, there's the initial shock and disorientation. Just as Neo wakes up in a horrifying pod, you wake up in the wreckage of your life, gasping for air. The first feeling isn't relief, it's sheer confusion and terror. This is the come down, a phase where the narcissistic fog begins to lift and you see the truth of the manipulation and control for the first time. The sight is horrifying, and you start to question your most basic instincts. Then comes the deep, complicated grief. You realize you're not just grieving a breakup. You're grieving the person you thought you knew, who never really existed. You're grieving the future you were so invested in. This grief is often mixed with rage at the injustice and despair over the time you lost. The person who once showered you with affection is revealed to have been acting all along, and that betrayal cuts to the core. You realize the whole world was a stage, and you were a prop, not a partner. Next, you have to confront the toxic shame and self-doubt. The Matrix is designed to make you believe its failures are your fault, and a narcissist does the same thing. They install deep programs of shame to maintain control. As you wake up, you're not just fighting the narcissist, you're fighting the voice they installed in your head. It's a voice that whispers, "How could you have been so stupid? Why did you let this happen?" This toxic shame can make you feel fundamentally broken, and it's one of the most painful parts of the process. Finally, you begin to see the code. Just as Neo learned to see the underlying structure of the Matrix, you begin to see the patterns of abuse. The cycles of love bombing, devaluing, and discarding become painfully clear. You recognize gaslighting not as your own confusion, but as a deliberate tactic. You see blame shifting not as a real argument, but as manipulation. This stage isn't about forgiveness. It's about understanding the mechanics of the machine you were trapped in. It's the moment you can finally say, "This happened, it was real, and it wasn't my fault. You are not crazy." This is a normal reaction to an abnormal, abusive situation. Section 3. Learning to live in the real world. Waking up is the hardest part, but it's also where your freedom begins. Living in the desert of the real is tough, but unlike the Matrix, it's a world where you can finally grow, heal, and build a life that's truly your own. This journey isn't about forgetting, it's about rebuilding. The first step is radical acceptance. This means accepting the full, painful truth of what happened without judging yourself. The relationship was an illusion. The abuse was real. The person you loved was a construct. Accepting this isn't about condoning their behavior. It's about freeing yourself from the exhausting cycle of denial and self-blame. It's looking at the wreckage and deciding to walk away rather than trying to piece the fantasy back together. Next, it's time to rebuild your strength. In the Matrix, Neo had to relearn everything. In recovery, you have to reconnect with the person you were before the abuse, or discover the person you want to become. This is where you rediscover your own identity, your values, and your intuition. Start small. Revisit old hobbies, listen to music you once loved, and connect with friends who make you feel seen. This process is about learning to trust yourself again, your gut feelings, your perceptions, and your decisions. Most critically, you need to find your support network. Neo didn't escape the Matrix alone. He had a crew who understood where he came from and could guide him. You need the same. Healing from this kind of psychological abuse is nearly impossible to do alone. Find a therapist trained in narcissistic abuse and trauma. Seek out support groups, online or in person, where you can share your story with people who just get it without needing an explanation. This validation is a powerful tool to dismantle the self-doubt and prove you are not alone on this journey. Conclusion and CTA. Waking up from the matrix of a narcissistic relationship is one of the most brutal and disorienting experiences anyone can go through. It's the death of an illusion, and it demands a period of intense grief and recalibration. But here's the good news. While the dream was a lie, your strength is real. The pain is real. And your healing will be real too. The real world might feel harsh at first, but it's the only place you can find genuine connections, authentic self-worth, and true freedom. It's where you finally get to be the hero of your own story, not a supporting character in someone else's fantasy. Waking up is terrifying, but it's also the moment you start to reclaim your mind, your power, and your life. If this story resonates with you, I invite you to share your red pill moment in the comments. What was the moment of clarity that made you realize the world you were in wasn't real? Let's support each other in this journey of waking up, because no one should have to navigate it alone.